Okay, welcome to episode 2. We still don't have a name. We're still working that one out. So, episode 2, I'm here. I'm James. We'll call me Jameis. I like that name. I'm here with Sean.
I'm Sean.
Sean's here. And we're just want to do the quick intro of, you know what, episode 1 was bad. We know it's bad, you know it's bad, and we're getting better. That was raw, unedited footage.
Footage?
Footage. I will call my recordings footage.
Yeah. I won't confuse anybody. Carry on.
And so we're going to go episode 2. And
That should be the name of the podcast.
that should be the name of the
But
podcast.
confuse everybody.
Oh, I thought you were talking about footage.
Did you hear that? Did you hear footage?
Footage. Episode 2, and I'm here with Sean. And one of the reasons why we started this show, and you know what, we're going to throw a curveball. And this is kind of unrehearsed. I think we've had this discussion before, but one of the reasons why we've started this show was a segment we wanted to call Versus Batman, where Sean, our comic book expert, and
Expert's loose term.
but still,
I know a little bit about a little bit.
and a lot about Batman.
I know a lot about Batman.
He knows a lot about Batman. He knows how to give Batman the perfect blowjob.
Yeah, I do, actually.
We're coming up with a segment Versus Batman. And Sean would get Batman, and I would get to have my choice of, comic book characters, movie characters, history, his people, famous people of history, and, video game characters and all that. And one of the segments he wanted to do was, versus Hitler. And, one day we might do that, but I personally don't want to defend Hitler. That just seems like a bad idea on my part. So I'm going to start out this segment with a good one, a great one. How about Magneto versus Batman?
Well, that one's just ridiculously easy.
How is that ridiculously easy? Magneto, the master of magnets.
So
versus
basically,
Batman.
Yeah, Batman, who would have all of his instruments and tools, and
you don't think
would be
that
plastic. What's he gonna do? He doesn't have metal armor.
Yeah, he kind of has. He's got some armor.
But it's not magnetic.
Magneto?
No, Batman.
Batman? I guess so. I mean, I don't know if Kevlar is magnetic, but
I can assure you that fabric in general is not unless it's static.
But you also got to think at the same time, if you go with X-Men 2, the movie, he was able to remove all the iron from that police officer, prison officer.
But that was only because he had an excessive amount of iron in his blood.
But
because
still,
he was shot in the ass with it.
How do we not know that? Bruce Wayne doesn't have an excessive amount of iron in his blood.
He took an extra iron pill that morning.
he just have Bruce Wayne takes his iron. I mean, you got to figure. I mean, iron's if you have a good amount of iron in your body, you're considered healthy. So, it'd be better to be closer to steel than to be closer to flesh. So I would think, Batman probably has an excessive amount of iron in his body.
Yeah, but I'm sure his fabric covers any magnetism that would be underneath it. He doesn't have.
Okay, but if they fought at a construction yard, like a building of a skyscraper in Gotham, then Magneto could throw steel girders at him.
He absolutely could, but he'd have to find them.
It's Magneto. He could vibrate the metal and use the metal as a sonar to find them.
He doesn't have super hearing. He just can control metal.
He could feel the vibrations in the metal.
You're losing it.
He could do it. It's Magneto, man. Magneto's.
He can feel the ripples in the electromagnetic field. Is what you're saying?
Yup. In a comic book writer would write that to make the fight way more epic. We're going on the epic scale. Yes, on the quick scale, Batman is going to win. Here's a spoiler alert for every single ending of Versus Batman. Batman's going to win. No matter who I choose, no matter what happens, I've just spoiled the ending. But explain how Batman pulls it out in an epic standard,
Well-
in a construction yard with steel girders.
Well, he'd just pull out his anti-mutant spray and spray Magneto and...
No, I said the
game on.
epic way, not the cheap freaking 60s Batman. 60s,
That would be the most epic way.
60s Batman is the cheap one. 60s Batman is using Game
Dozier
Genie.
Batman is great. He could beat anybody with a good wallop
No,
and some spray.
anti-shark spray.
Is a real thing.
He used it. It helped
It
him.
worked. It fucking worked. So you saying his anti-mutant spray would not work on Magneto?
Sean, that's like having a Nintendo controller hooked up to a Batman, and to beat the level you're on, you hit the select button, and it's like, you win, congratulations, you pressed the one button.
Well, if there were any good villains, they would be able to get past the select button.
You're
issue.
telling me the Joker's not a good villain, you're telling me the Penguin's not a good
They
villain?
fail every time. They are
The
great
Riddler,
villains. They are great villains. But
Catwoman,
they lose every fucking time.
Vincent Price was a villain.
Bane won. Bane won. Okay, but that's only because he put him through that fucking gauntlet, and like he was on death's door sick. Okay. But then he comes back and he whoops Azrael's ass, who whooped Bane's ass. So it's like it
The transitive property of superheroes
makes Batman the most epic of that situation.
Well,
He came back from a broken spine, motherfucker.
And if that's the case, then, the transitive property of superheroes says Batman also beats Superman, and Superman can beat anyone. It's Superman.
Thank you for proving my point.
So
Transitive math works in my favor here. You just lost every fucking argument in the podcast through mathematics.
I've given my thing. But still, think about it. It's Magneto. How is he going to... Okay, epic comic book writing. So you have to make Magneto, who's an epic freaking comic book villain. One of the most famous, probably one of the greatest, top 10 greatest comic book villains
Agree to
ever.
that.
Versus Batman. So you got to make it great. Cause you
One of
gotta
the
figure,
top two greatest heroes of all time you could make an argument for.
Yeah, you could...
I don't know. Who's more globally famous, Batman or Superman?
Probably Superman.
You think so?
I've seen Turkish Superman. I never saw
You showed me
Turkish
that.
Batman.
Fair enough. But still doesn't negate the fact that he beat Superman. So.
He did. So how would you epically write this comic book, like a good graphic novel where
Well, off
Batman
the top of my head,
somehow
I'm not
finds-
going to pull some bit of brilliance out.
Well, no, but we're gonna solve it up to like the final panels of either the last book or of the book. Okay, so Magneto and Batman are fighting in a tower being erected, like a skyscraper being erected in Gotham. So you got steel girders, you got
It's
construction,
dark though, right?
Yeah.
If they're not fighting during the day, right? They're fighting at night.
It's at night.
So there's no really lights on or anything because no one's working, so that he can hide in a lot of places.
But it's still Magneto, man. They would still, write, even if they Deus Ex Machina it, they would still write that Magneto would have the power while facing Batman to feel magnetic vibration. Like a stupid Spidey sense, yes. It's a complete cop-out, but to make it a great comic book, you'd have to figure that into it.
Well, I'm sure that he'd have to use distractions and use the magnetic field to his advantage by making him look like he's going from one direction and coming through the other.
And that's pretty advanced science for Batman to do. And Batman's a really smart guy. Out of all the comic book heroes as far as intelligence go, he's probably the top 25, top 20, top...
He's in the 98th percentile of brilliance in comic books.
Yeah. There's no joking that. But, he's like... He still would
up
have...
there with, I think he isn't... IQ, he is like...
So up there was Tony Stark. I think Tony Stark's a bit smarter than him.
He's smarter in the fact of like mechanical engineering, but like as far as detective work and deductive, it's like only like fucking Sherlock Holmes is like on the Batman level.
Oh yeah, when it comes to that, yeah.
And he's a master chemist too, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he does have, the weaknesses against every single member of the Justice League. That's part of the, like requirements for joining the Justice League is you have to tell Batman your weakness.
He's like Princeton educated. I mean, yeah. You gotta tell Batman your weakness.
You have to tell. So, I mean, but he's going against Magneto, Magneto would never have to tell Batman his weakness.
No, but it'd be pretty fucking obvious once he starts fighting what his fucking power is.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, he'd be like, he might think he just have telekinesis. He might not think that he has, because I think it would take him using a lot of his equipment to figure out, like, batarangs and stuff, to figure out that he actually has, like, he controls metal, he's magnets, not telekinesis.
But he would, he would test it out first. He's not going to go in there. That's not the way Batman fights mega villains. He's not going to go in there and just start fucking throwing haymakers at the guy.
But you also got to think in the DC universe, it would take somebody a long time to figure out mutants and somebody who's a master of magnetism. I mean, that's a pretty specific skill that has a really unique weakness. And with a person who has the ability to control metal pretty much, that's an impressive power in a universe where there really isn't somebody who has that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to take Batman he's not going to instantly grasp the concept that this guy's controlling magnets. He will eventually get to that point. Yes, I can't argue that in a comic book world, as a writer, he wouldn't eventually get to that point. But it's going to take a bit of fight. It would take multiple fights where Batman would have to run away. Like, he would have to escape. So that would have to write a better character for Magneto. Like, why is Magneto in Gotham City? Is he hunting out mutants, or is he leading the mutant resistance? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like an impressive story. You have to justify why a Magneto would be in Gotham City, and why would Magneto be in that DC universe.
Plus, you got to think, the simplest way really to defeat him is just to throw like a knockout. The simplest way to defeat him really is to just throw like some knockout gas his way and like a plastic pellet of some kind. He's not invincible to being drugged.
I mean, his greatest weakness is, like, psychic powers against him. That's why he wears a helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, here you go. If they're wearing a helmet in the X-Men universe, they have a weakness to psychic. Look at Juggernaut. So, I mean, Batman doesn't have a psychic ability. He can't use, Professor X's power. He can't succumb him to that strength. He would
use his power of deduction to figure out how to beat him, though.
But
it wouldn't be a flat out, straight up brawl. It'd be like a game of cat and mouse for like a little bit.
He would have to develop a new, a plastic polymer just to fight Magneto. He would have to research new polymers that Magneto. Well, probably not. There's probably great polymers that are magnets.
You don't think Wayne Enterprises is on top of the polymer industry just being
Yeah, true. But it would
we are the Wayne family. Polymers are
Yep. The Wayne industry, if it wasn't for Batman, would sound like the greatest evil industry ever. Be like, you don't think that we're not on top of this? You don't think we fucking starve other worlds? Why do you think Gotham is crap?
If they were evil, they'd be as big as LexCorp.
But I would agree with you. So, I mean, how many fights in? How would you tell the story?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. It would be a lot of cat and mouse playing at first, but then eventually.
Let's get to the final panels. Okay, I'll be Magneto and you'll be freaking Batman.
A battle of that magnitude, I would totally. It would be. I'd have it go out with a whimper rather than a bang. I mean, the gas thing would ultimately be the way he'd have to defeat him, right? I mean, he can't really.
So you'd want
can he really go up and rear naked choke him? I mean, I don't think that's gonna work,
dude. You know what would be the great end to that? If Batman got a hold of frickin' Scarecrow's fear gas and used it against Magneto's, because then you would get ending
That would be
panels
fucking crazy.
of Magneto's crazy World War II, like, Holocaust survivor.
I'm not familiar with Magneto's backstory too much, but
Oh my God. I mean, you want to talk about fear. I mean, come on, you're a Holocaust survivor, and you survived the Holocaust because you have these extraordinary powers. There's a reason why you hate humanity, because they try to they genocide your race. I mean, I would hate humanity too if that happened. I guess if that happened to the Irish people way back when, we'd probably hate humanity, Sean. We'd be like, fuck those people, man. But the Irish overcame because we breed it.
yes, get drunk enough and nothing hurts.
Yep. So, think about it. That would, Scarecrow's fear grass on Magneto.
Well, what would scare him the most? What, just going back in the past and dealing with that shit?
Thinking about what if he didn't have those magnetic powers?
Oh.
Think about it. Those are pretty godlike powers, Sean.
Well, not only that, I'd probably look at a world where mutants are slaves and shit, like just kind of like the Days of Futures Past type of shit, you know?
Exactly. So,
it would be, yeah.
Think about it, Sean. If you had Magneto's powers, wouldn't one of your greatest fears be not to have those powers?
It already has like a synthetic, like a less, potent version of Scarecrow's serum in his arsenal. So that could very well work.
Oh yeah, dude. Batman,
it's more watered down, but
because Scarecrow's, even if Batman's not exposed to it for a while, his system doesn't get used to it. Scarecrow's serum is a drug, man. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when Batman's not exposed to it a lot, he kind of his body just is like, oh, I got reintroduced to this. This is jacked up. I don't know how to handle it. So when he versus Scarecrow, he usually, if they're making the whole comic book about him versus Scarecrow, or the series about him versus Scarecrow, he has to take, 2 or 3, at least 2 to 4 shots of the serum to finally build up the immunity again and be able to face Scarecrow by his power of deduction. Because they also, Scarecrow's thing, because Bruce Wayne always has shit going on in his life. The guy's Batman. He's got his plate pretty fucking full.
He's got a whole fucking city. You don't really appreciate that until you really think about it. He patrols an entire city every night.
And during the day, he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
So he's got a pretty busy social lifestyle. Batman, you are a coke addict.
Fucking world's most powerful insomniac.
How the hell can you do it? So then he gets immune to Scarecrow spray. But he's facing Magneto, so it would take him a while to realize that was his weakness.
He'd figure it out, though. He's not... what did it take Wolverine a few seconds to figure out, oh my god, you control metal?
But Wolverine has metal to deal with him. Yes, everybody's going to be like, it's really adamantium, and that's not affected by Magneto's power. It's like, fuck no, it is affected. Magneto's that powerful. He controls metal.
Well, if we're using, to be fair, if we're using any version of Batman to fight, we can use any version of Magneto for him to fight, too.
Right.
So in that version, okay, Magneto can control adamantium. In the movie, he does. He just, makes him look like Jesus Christ, puts his hands up in the
bends
train.
The blades and all that. It's like, dude, Wolverine, oh my god, we can't do Wolverine versus Batman right now while talking about Magneto, but that will be coming soon.
Yes.
We have to do that now. But, okay, so... Well, we have to drop Wolverine for right now so we don't talk about him because Wolverine is
all right.
Awesome.
But yeah, Magneto would he'd lose. Ultimately, he would lose.
But you don't have to cop out with the 60s Batman on this.
Oh, I'm going to anyway. I'm going to say it would be so much easier if he just pulled that shit out.
The spray, of course it would, but you don't have to. You don't have to resort to that cheap cop out. There's other guys.
But don't think I won't if need be.
If need be, he will. If need be, we'll resort to that cheap cop out. But
I will throw that out there
against Magneto. And trust me, people, we won't spoil them. But I've got a few that he will have to. So, and now let's go into, hey, we're talking about Batman, Superman versus Batman, Man of Steel 2. Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor.
I like it, and I'll tell you why. Is because just look who Lex Luthor is, and look where they're trying to go with this. They're trying to make him like an alpha mega Mark Zuckerberg.
You know what's also great is in my gut when I heard about that, I just thought about App Pupil, even though I know it's not Jesse Eisenberg playing the kid in App Pupil. I just thought about App Pupil because he totally did a movie where he played like some Nazi guy. I don't remember what it's called, but I always, when I think of some like kid in school playing some Nazi kid, I think of frickin' App Pupil first and then American History X second. I'm like, oh, one person? App Pupil.
Sounds like a good movie night.
But that's somehow I always think that. So I'm like, him playing Lex Luthor, I'm like, oh, like he'll be playing like that App Pupil kid. I'm gonna get you, Superman. I hate you. I'm fascinated by
hate aliens and Jews.
Yup. That's what I think. Oh, Jesse Eisenberg, we loved you in Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, come on.
And that's still a great joke. Michael Cera even told that joke on Conan.
Did he?
Yeah, he was like, people confused him for Jesse Eisenberg, and they were like, oh, they try to be all cool, and they're like, oh, I loved you in Zombieland. He'd be like, you should really check out Adventureland. I think that's better.
I'll have to watch that.
Oh, it's pretty great. And then they made a joke in Arrested Development season 4 when the fake block.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, so it's like the anti-social network. He's like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, that's funny because people got him confused with Jesse Eisenberg.
That 4th season of Arrested Development is brilliant. Anyway,
all of Arrested Development is brilliant. For a sitcom show to have just overlasting and hidden jokes where you just figure out new stuff every time, that's pretty amazing. And you're like, you don't need to do more because it's like you've kind of told all the jokes. Stop it while it's great.
I don't know. I mean, I love Ron Howard's narrator character, and it's just
I love pretty much every character on that show. I think they're all great. And I'm not a David Cross fan. I will say that, which is weird because I do love like H. John Benjamin, and they're pretty much the same type of humor. I'm just
Mr. Show's good.
Mr. Show's good, but I do love Tobias Funke. I'm like, oh my god. And I love the fact that they took the whole fact that they built it up like, oh, so is he some like closet homosexual thing? And they're
anus
like,
tart?
Yeah, they're like, well, we weren't really going for that, but since everybody got that, we'll definitely use that where he's overly homosexual while not being homosexual. It's like,
you're blowing my mind, Frank.
I think it's pretty funny. And frickin' Michael Cera's hilarious in it. And, oh my god. Will Arnett's hilarious.
We're just probably preaching to the choir now.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows that show is great. Nobody can deny that show is great. So, Will Arnett was also Batman in the Lego movie.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I want to see that.
I heard it's a fun movie.
That's what I heard, too.
Fun movies are always great, Sean.
Yeah, it looks... we're going to have to go check that one out.
What's one of your favorite fun movies?
Like, well, I know it's pretty cliche to say and pretty popular, but to be honest, The Avengers is probably one of the most fun movies you can sit down and watch. There's not a boring scene in it, and it's just popcorn. It's just fun, dude. The whole movie's fun.
You're not going to say, Independence Day? That's a
Independence
pretty
Day is
funny.
good, but I don't think it's
movie.
as fun as the Avengers. I mean, I'm not saying it's the great. It's not. I love
Men in
Train
Black.
Spotting to death, but it's not what I would call a fun movie.
Men in Black is a fun movie.
Men in Black. I was never a fan of Men in Black. Yeah, not even the first one.
Oh, that's a good movie. I think it was because of what's his name, Gomer Pyle, helped make that movie good.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
He helped make that movie good. David Cross was also in the first Men in Black.
I thought it was.
He was the receptionist at the coroner.
Oh yeah.
And he when Vincent D'Onofrio wanted to
Wasn't
see
he
the
also
body,
like
they had
a video store clerk in like the second or third one?
I don't remember. I
thought
don't
he
remember.
was.
I never saw the third one. But
Who directed? Barry Sonnenfeld directed those, I think.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Barry Sonnenfeld is?
Nope. As I said, you're the movie expert,
Well,
John.
at one point, I mean, he was the cinematographer for the Coen Brothers and shit. Like he shot Raising Arizona. And then he got his directing, and then he was able to he directed the Addams Family movies.
Really?
Yeah,
Those are great movies.
yeah, they are pretty good.
Oh my god, those characters, if they didn't get those actors for those characters.
Raul Julia, dude.
Oh my god, him alone, it's just like he made Gomez, because it's like when you, after seeing those movies before you actually
Sit
watch.
down and watch the show, dude. That Gomez in the show is Raul Julia is way better.
Oh my god,
It's a sin to say these kind of things, but it's truth. Truth is truth, man. And Raul Julia brought like a soul to Gomez.
Or Christina Ricci as Wednesday.
Oh yeah,
Because the Wednesday in the original show is kind of like a whiny little girl, and then Christina Ricci, who's so dry, and it's so dark, and you're like, it's so beautiful. Dry, dark, and beautiful. And it's
Christopher Lloyd as Fester was impressive. I mean,
Oh
if you would have
my
told me
God.
Doc Brown is Uncle Fester, that's no way they could pull that off.
It was such a dark comedy.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it was more comedy than dark, but the mixture was so good.
yeah, it was.
So good.
Yeah,
Oh my god. I love the Addams Family movies.
we have to watch those.
Oh my god. They're so hard to find.
They're not on Netflix.
No, they're not on Netflix. I think they might appear closer to Halloween, but or at least Addams Family Values seems to always be on, but you can only see that so many times in a row. And Addams Family Values is great.
I had the VHS of the original Addams Family. I got it at McDonald's. Seriously, they at one point they had like 4 or 5 movies that they were releasing on video. You could buy at McDonald's. It was some kind of promotion.
I remember they used to have a ton of those promotions at McDonald's because I definitely had Puff the Magic Dragon.
Oh, really?
From McDonald's.
I have Back to the Future and oh man, there's another one. The Indiana Jones movies I bought at McDonald's too. The VHS of Indiana
Thank
Jones.
you, McDonald's in the 80s. Hey, we could get a
Tin ashtrays and everything.
We could get a freaking VHS for $4 if we just go and buy like a Happy Meal and like a regular value meal. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Do you know Clue? One of the reasons why Clue is one of the biggest movies ever, or selling VHSs ever.
Why?
It's because it was such a flop in the theaters and lost so much money that they were selling it for so dirt cheap. And it was right when VCRs started becoming affordable. Like the upper middle class and the like mid-middle class could like kind
So it was
of
like a
afford
new
them.
release that immediately dropped in price.
It was it was a couple bucks. All the people were like, and it was during the boom of like the blockbusters.
The VHS would cost you like $25,
and
man.
the rental places. So it was like, oh, here's a VHS that was like frickin' a couple bucks. Holy crap! I own a VCR. I should own at least one VHS. So
Yeah.
I'll buy this. Way to go! That's how Clue became popular, and Clue's a pretty great movie.
Didn't that when they released it, they didn't like each sections of the country get a different ending, like a different like killer.
I think so, but I think since VHS has been dead for over a decade now.
No, I'm talking about when it was in theaters. Like when they released in theaters, like each section of the country got like a different ending.
I think they just played all those endings at the end anyways.
Oh, okay.
And just that's a rumor that got made because it's like, why would they do that? It would be
pre-internet. That's kind of brilliant.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got like, you wouldn't even know until like, until you like saw someone that saw in a different part of the country.
Because it was such a bomb in theaters and nobody saw it. So the only one they saw was on the VHS.
Pre-internet, that's like as about as inside as you can get. I mean,
Clue, the greatest cinematography ever, the greatest movie ever because it was pre-internet and it started so many freaking internet movies because it was so cheap. That everybody bought it so they could say they owned a VHS and didn't always rent from Blockbuster or Family Video or their local liquor store because every place used to have video rentals. Sean, did your place, the place that we used to go to, because my mom worked at a pizza place when I was growing up, she worked next to a liquor store, and they had video rentals. So that's how we got, video games. And there was only 4 video games, and the 2 I remember, actually, the 3 I remember were Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, and Legend of Zelda 2.
Oh, I don't know.
And a ton of movies. They had all the Jason movies. That's how I learned to love Jason. Like, whoa, Jason. And the Rocky Horror Picture Show with the thing. And I don't like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'll get that right out of the way.
I don't like it either. It sucks.
I don't think it sucks.
No, I do.
It's not for me.
I do.
Okay.
I could go. That movie is terrible.
But
that time warp.
The time warp. Meatloaf was in it.
Yeah, well.
But that's how we got movies and video games. So.
Well, I don't know. I rented from Movie Warehouse, and they had like this movie thing where it was like all the old movies would be like 3 nights, 3 movies, $3. So I go up there and I get like $3, 3 movie, and I just keep going up there every 3 days and getting something new or that. But mostly, yeah, if I was running like Nintendo or Genesis games or something, definitely I'd go there and get it. But I remember one time I was just like so pissed because I couldn't beat any games for a while because it could be a bitch to beat a Genesis game. I was like, I'm going to run a game and beat it. So I picked up a Ronald McDonald game and I brought it back and I beat that fucker like it was my stepchild, man. I mean, I ran roughshod over that game.
You had to choose the game that was specifically designed for children to beat. I was in
a slump. I couldn't beat anything. I couldn't beat myself, for Christ's sake.
I get your point because, as I said, the 3 games I remember were Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, and Zelda 2 for the NES.
How far did you get in Punch-Out? Honestly.
Honestly, as a little kid?
No, I mean,
as a little
without
kid,
putting a code in, even since...
No, I didn't know the code. But how far... now it's different. Now I think I could get pretty far. I don't know. I don't think I could beat the game, but I could get definitely pretty far. As a kid, I think I couldn't get past the second guy, the German guy. I could get past Glass Joe, and it took me a while to figure that out. I was probably 3 years old.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I forget you're younger than me. Because I was playing that show. I'm like, well, okay. Until someone told me how you beat King Hippo, that's where I stopped.
Oh, dude, I could.
Because I was always trying to knock him the fuck out. I
couldn't get past like this third guy. The second guy usually gave me a huge trouble. Now I can just freaking dominate the game. I don't think I could beat it right off the bat, but I could get farther than you would imagine.
I couldn't even come close to hitting Tyson. Tyson is so tough to beat.
It's about blocking and dodging, but so that was a hard game. And have you ever played Kid Icarus?
Yeah.
That game is pretty hard for a 3-year-old too. And Zelda 2, I could beat Zelda 1 at 3. Like, I figured it out.
Yeah, Zelda 2 wasn't even Zelda.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know what to do here. I can't do this. I can't even beat Mario yet. I can beat Zelda because it's like stab, bomb, everything, stab, easy. you know, here's the weakness, here, blah, blah, blah. Easy. I love Zelda, but I could easily, I was 3, I taught my mom how to beat Zelda when I was 3.
I never beat Zelda.
Oh, it's easy.
To be fair, do you want to be honest? I never even owned Zelda.
Really?
For my Nintendo, yeah.
That's it.
Did they make a lot of them? Can I go to like the store and get them?
Yeah, they're pretty dirt cheap.
I can go to like Mind Games or something and pick it up. Oh, okay.
They're dirt cheap. They made plenty of copies of it. Or
just don't expect like the gold one.
I think they're all gold ones.
Were they all gold?
Yeah, that's not anything impressive.
There was no special ones? Huh.
Because that was part of what made it like cool and hip. Was like, this cartridge is gold. So there's a ton of them out there. I'm pretty sure you can find my Zelda cartridge, though, to be fair, I dropped it into like a puddle one time when I was a little kid. Because I loved Zelda as a kid. I was like 4 years old. Yeah, 4 years old. And for Halloween, I went as Link.
Really?
Yup. So I carried around between, where my mom was living and my grandparents because I had a Nintendo 2 for me. And one time I dropped it in the snow or a puddle or something. So when I put it in, all the character slots were filled at the beginning with all the characters having max life. And that's how I beat the game, because they all had the max life. I figured out a lot of the secrets, and still to this day they're burned into my mind. Mm-hmm. I know where a lot of the secrets are. But I beat Zelda when I was 3. I knew everything about that game. But Zelda 2? Nope. The kid in one town said, get Candle in Parappa Palace, go west. And if you go west, it's just a mountain cliff that's impassable. It's in the east. It's in the east. Little kids, that screwed up my direction forever. East is this way. Or west is this way, which is really east, because that little kid lied to me in Zelda 2 as a little kid. Bastard children.
You couldn't actually go and fact check it either, I mean, you'd have to fucking get a Nintendo Power magazine or.
Oh, well, we were too broke to afford all that crap. We didn't have all those cool VHS tapes and all that.
We didn't either. We had cable, and if a movie came on HBO or something, my mom was like, "If you want to watch it again, you have to pop in the tape, set the VCR up to record, because we ain't buying it."
Yup.
So we'd have a shit ton of those blank tapes with the movies written down on them and shit.
We didn't even have that. I think I remember my mom having HBO for a bit. But it was way too young to really remember. The only movie I can remember ever seeing off that was Batteries Not Included. And I think Inner Space.
Well, you know what? A fucking Jessica Tandy movie mixed in with a Dennis Quaid movie is not a bad way to go.
Hey, I saw 2 pretty, memorable 80s movies. I'm like, hey, these are probably one of the best movies of the 80s.
Well, let's slow down on that. I mean, Inner Space is not what I would consider one of the best movies of the 80s. We're talking I don't know. I mean, the validity of if the best, I don't know.
Okay, movies that help define the 80s.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it that. Pop culture really makes sense, but I wouldn't know I wouldn't. There's some good shit in the 80s.
I mean, Back to the Future came out in the 80s. That's if there's a movie to define 80s cinema, Back to the Future and E.T.
Back to the Future is one of the best 80s movies.
E.T.? Mm-hmm. I mean, those movies, define the 80s in cinematography, especially Back to the Future. Just the cinematography in Back to the Future is this movie just scream 80s.
Empire Strikes Back.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yeah.
That movie wholeheartedly defines the 80s.
Yeah. Lawrence Penn. and Judge Reinhold.
And
Phoebe Cates.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yep.
She was on Weeds.
Yeah, No.
Eric Stoltz was in that movie. Nicolas Cage was in that movie.
Jennifer Jason Leigh was not in Weeds.
Yes, she was.
No.
She played Nancy's sister.
Oh yeah, she wasn't she? I'm like,
She
no,
told-
we're like,
she
I'm like, you're
totally was
thinking
in
Mary
it.
Louise Parker. I'm
No,
like,
Jennifer Jason Leigh played Nancy's sister. So she's a pretty, not a like main character, but she's a pretty integral part of a season.
yeah. Well, Albert Brooks was in that too.
He's a pretty integral part of the season. He
Yeah.
was Robert Duvall. Was it Robert Duvall? Yeah. Who played you saw, how far did you get in Weeds?
till when her son hit the lady over the head with the mallet and she went in the pool. That was the finale of.
Oh, so you never saw when they came to Dearborn,
No.
because she's from Dearborn.
Oh.
So, and she had a teacher who was like in love with her in high school, and like they slept together.
I don't know. The show just got really over the top by that point. Like it went from like a cool suburban pop dealing mom to I really like the whole U-turn.
You should give the whole series a chance, because it kind of gets really. I mean, it kind of gets over the top, but like weird and interesting. Where if you stop thinking about the past episodes and just think about the whole season, you're like, okay, it's kind of interesting, because she goes to prison. And she like comes out, like it doesn't show her in prison, but she comes out and like she's living in New York in like a parole house, and she ends up dealing weed again. And it's kind of crazy, and like the kids come back, and like Silas is trying to be a professional, or Silas is trying to be a professional model because he found
What
out.
about Andy?
Huh? Andy came out with a stupid invention, and he was trying to sell it in New York to make money. And Shane was becoming a cop. Shane was the one who killed the PR. But yeah, you should check it out.
I'll have to give it another chance.
It's definitely worth it. Or watch it from the beginning to the end.
will.
It's pretty. I mean, you kind of think like, okay, this is cool, especially if you marathon it, because then you're like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah.
Guillermo Diaz was good in that too.
Guillermo was awesome in that. But at the guy who
The
played
brick dance.
It's a good show. You should totally watch it.
I will. On that note, though, let's wrap it up because I want to play some video games.
Okay, we'll get some wrestling in.
Yeah.
So, okay, episode 2. So, we're wrapping it up here. So, stay tuned to episode 3 where we discuss how to make an actual working time machine. I figured this out. So, we'll catch you later. I'm James. He's Sean.
Sean.
And you guys have a good night. Stay tuned for episode 3, Time Traveling Through the 1948.
Bitches.